Crystal Cave by Mary Stewart, Book 1, The Dove, 8. It was a quarter moon, which gave just enough light to show the way. The pony danced to warm his blood and pulled harder than ever, his ears pricked toward home, scenting his supper. I had to fight to hold him, because the way was icy, and I was afraid of a fall. But I confess that, with Gallopus's last remark echoing uncomfortably in my head, I let him go downhill through the trees a good deal too fast for safety until we reached the mill and the level of the towpath. There it was possible to see clearly. I dug my heels in and galloped him the rest of the way. As soon as we came in sight of town, I could see that something was up. The towpath was deserted. The town gates would have been locked long since, but the town was full of lights. Inside the walls, torches seemed to be flaring everywhere, and there was shouting and the tramp of feet. I slipped from the saddle at the stable yard gate, fully prepared to find myself locked out, but even as I reached to try it, the gate opened, and Cedric, with a shaded lantern in his hand, beckoned me in. I heard you coming. Been listening all evening. Where have you been, lover boy? She must have been good tonight. Oh, she was. Have they been asking for me? Have they missed me? Not that I know of. They've got more to think about tonight than you. Give me the bridle. We'll put him in the barn for now. There's too much coming and going in the big yard. Why, what's going on? I heard the noise a mile off. Is it war? No, more's the pity, though it may end up that way. There's a message come this afternoon. The High King's coming to Saguntium, and he'll lie there for a week or two. Your grandfather's riding up tomorrow, so everything's to got ready mighty sharp. I see. I followed him into the barn and stood watching him unsaddle, while half absently I pulled straw from the pile and twisted a wisp for him. I handed this across the pony's withers. King Vortigern at Saguntium? Why? Counting heads, they say. He gave a snort of laughter as he began to work the pony over. Calling in his allies, do you mean? Then there is talk of war. There'll always be talk of war so long as yon Ambrosius sits there in Les Britain with King Boudic at his back, and men remember things that's better not spoken of. I nodded. I could not remember precisely when I had been told, since nobody said it aloud, but everyone knew the story of how the High King had claimed the throne. He had been regent for the young King Constantius, who had died suddenly, and the king's younger brothers had not waited to prove whether the rumors of murder were true or false. They had fled to their cousin Boudic in Les Britain, leaving the kingdom to the wolf and his sons. Every year or so, the rumors sprang up again that King Boudic was arming the two young princes, that Ambrosius had gone to Rome, that Uther was a mercenary in the service of the Emperor of the East, or that he had married the King of Persia's daughter, that the two brothers had an army 400,000 strong and were going to invade and burn Greater Britain from end to end, or that they would come in peace like archangels and drive the Saxons out of the eastern shores without a blow. But more than 20 years had gone by, and the thing had not happened. The coming of Ambrosius was spoken of now, as if it were accomplished, and already a legend, as men spoke of the coming of Brut and the Trojans 4 generations after the fall of Troy, or Joseph's journey to Thorny Hill near Avalon, or like the second coming of Christ. Though, when I had once repeated this to my mother, she had been so angry I had never tried the joke again. Oh yes, I said, Ambrosius coming again, is he? Seriously, Cedric, why is the High King coming to North Wales? I told you, doing the rounds, drumming up a bit of support before the spring, him and that Saxon queen of his, and he spat on the floor. Why do you do that? You're a Saxon yourself. That's a long time ago. I live here now. Wasn't it that flaxen bitch that made Vortigern sell out in the first place? Or at any rate, you know as well as I do that since she's been in the High King's bed, the Northmen have been loose all over the land like a heath fire, till he can neither fight them nor buy them off. And if she's what men say she is, you can be sure of the king's true-born son. You can be sure none of the king's true-born sons will live to wear the crown. He had been speaking softly, but at this he looked over his shoulder and spat again, making the sign. Well, you know all this, or you would, that is, if you listened to your betters more often, instead of spending your time with books and such like, or chasing round with the people from the hollow hills. Is that where you think I go? It's what people say. I'm not asking questions. I don't want to know. Come up, you. This to the pony, as he moved over and started work. hissing on the other flank. There's talk that the Saxons have landed again north of the Rutape, and they're asking too much this time, even for Vortigern to stomach. He'll have to fight come spring, and my grandfather's with him. That's what he's hoping, I'll be bound. Well, you best run along if you want your supper. No one will notice you. There was all hell going on in the kitchens when I tried to get a bite an hour back. Where's my grandfather? How do I know? He cocked his head at me over the pony's rump. And what's to do? I want to go with them. Ha! He said, and threw the chopped feed down for the pony. It was not an encouraging sound. I said stubbornly, I've a fancy to see Sagontium. Who hasn't? I've a fancy to see it myself, but if you're thinking of asking the king... He let it hang. But not what it's time you got out of the place and saw a thing or two. Shake you a bit out of yourself. It's what you need, but I can't say I see it happening. You'll never go to the king. Why not? All he can do is refuse. All he can do? Jupiter's balls, listen to the boy. Take my advice and get your supper and go to bed, and don't try Camlack neither. He's had a right stand-up fight with that wife of his, and he's like a stoat with a toothache. You can't be serious. The gods only go with you, Cedric, if you put yourself in their path. Well, all right, but some of them have got mighty big hoofs to walk over you with. Do you want Christian burial? I don't really mind, I suppose. I'll work my way up to Christian baptism fairly soon if the bishop has his way, but till then I've not signed on officially for anyone. He laughed. I hope they'll give me the flames when my turn comes. It's cleaner that way. Well, if you won't listen, you won't listen, but don't face him on an empty belly. That's all. I'll promise you that, I said, and went to forage for supper. After I had eaten and changed into a decent tunic, I went to look for my grandfather. To my relief, Canelac was not with him. The king was in his bedchamber, sprawled at ease, in his big chair before a roaring log fire, with his 2 hounds asleep at his feet. At first, I thought the woman in the high-backed chair on the other side of the hearth was Olwen the queen, but then I saw it was my mother. She had been sewing, but her hands had dropped idle in her lap, and the white stuff lay still over the brown robe. She turned and smiled at me, but with a look of surprise. One of the wolfhounds beat his tail on the floor, and the other opened an eye and rolled it round and closed it again. My grandfather glowered at me under his brows, but said kindly enough, Well, boy, don't stand there. Come in. There's a cursed draught. Shut the door. I obeyed, approaching the fire. May I see you, sir? You're seeing me. What do you want? Get a stool and sit down. There was one near my mother's chair. I pulled it away to show I was not sitting in her shadow, and sat down between them. Well, I haven't seen you for some time, have I? Been at your books? Yes, sir. On the principle that it is better to attack than to defend, I went straight to the point. I had leave this afternoon, and I went out riding, so I... Where to? Along the river path, nowhere special, only to improve my horsemanship, so... It could do with it. Yes, sir. So I missed the messenger. They tell me you ride out tomorrow, sir. What's that to you? Only that I would like to come with you. You would like? What's this all of a sudden? A dozen answers, all sounding equally well jostled in my head for expression. I thought I saw my mother watching me with pity, and I knew my grandfather waited with indifference and impatience, only faintly tempered with amusement. I told the simple truth, because I am more than 12 years old, and I have never been out of Moradunham, because I know that if my uncle has his way, I shall soon be shut up in this valley or elsewhere to study as a clerk, and before that happens... The terrifying brows came down. Are you trying to tell me you don't want to study? No, it's what I want more than anything in the world. But study means more if one has seen just a little of the world. Indeed, sir, it does. If you would allow me to go with you. I'm going to Sagontium. Did they tell you that? It's not a feast day hunting party. It's a long ride and a hard one, and no quarter given for poor riders. It was like lifting a heavy weight to keep my eyes level on that fierce blue gaze. I've been practicing, sir. I've a good pony now. Ha, yes, Dineus's breakdown. Well, that's about your measure. No, Merlin, I don't take children. Then you're leaving Dineus behind. I heard my mother gasp, and my grandfather's head, already turned away, jerked back to me. I saw his fists clench on the chair's arm, but he did not hit me. Dinius is a man. Then do Mayo and Duat go with you, sir? They were his 2 pages, younger than myself, and went everywhere with him. My mother began to speak in a breathless rush, but my grandfather moved a hand to stop her. There was an arrested look in his fierce eyes under the scowling brows. Mayo and Duat are some use to me. What use are you? I looked at him calmly. Till now, a very little. But have they not told you that I speak Saxon as well as Welsh and can read Greek, and that my Latin is better than yours? Merlin, my mother began, but I ignored her. I would have added Breton and Cornish, but I doubt we will have much use for those at Saguntium. Can you give me one good reason, said my grandfather dryly, why I should speak to King Vortigern in any other language but Welsh, seeing that he comes from Gwent? I knew from his tone that I had won. Letting my gaze fall from his was like retreating with relief from the battlefield. I drew a breath and said very meekly, No, sir. He gave his great bark of laughter and thrust a foot to roll one of the dogs over. Well, perhaps there's a bit of the family in you after all, in spite of your looks. At least you've got the guts to beard the old dog in his den when it suits you. All right, you can come. Who attends you? Cedric, the Saxon. Tell him to get your gear ready. We'll leave at first light. Well, what are you waiting for? To say good night to my mother. I rose from my stool and went to kiss her. I did not often do this, and she looked surprised. Behind me, my grandfather said abruptly, You're not going to war. You'll be back inside 3 weeks. Get out. Yes, sir. Thank you. Good night. Outside the door I stood, still for a full half-minute, leaning against the wall while my blood beat steadied slowly, and the sickness cleared from my throat. The gods only go with you if you put yourself in their path, and that takes courage. I swallowed the sickness, wiped the sweat off my palms, and ran to find Cedric. And that's the end of chapter 8.